Preparing the live stream. You guys see the notification there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see. Are we live?
This is like a new world.
Preparing the live stream. You guys see the notification there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see. Are we live?
This is like a new world.
Oh, cool. I think we're getting some
Preparing the live stream. You guys see the notification there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we're hearing ourselves, right? It's like a new world.
Great. There's like a time travel going on.
Just
Yeah.
a little bit.
I'm on
Okay.
YouTube, but I have to mute it, right?
Yeah, you got to mute the YouTube. Okay, we're ready to go, guys.
Cool. Well, hey everyone, thanks for joining us. This is Fluent Talks. It's stream live on Fridays. Have everyone join, go over a couple topics, but if you have questions and thoughts, like we're happy to answer. This is really just a time for folks to get together, showcase some of the cool stuff that's going on within the Fluent ecosystem, cool stuff going on within Calyptia, and really answer questions or ideas or topics that the community might have. So for today, we thought we'd load up with a couple of cool topics here for roundtable discussion. Do a quick tour of what Calyptia does, what we have, what you can try out today. Go over Fluent Bit 1.9, new release upcoming. Really excited for it. Has a bunch of cool features. Some new stuff around the Fluent Bit website, which is a bit dated at this point. So glad to get that out there. I have a Fluent partnership with OpenSearch, stuff that we've done from the Calyptia side, what that entails, and then Red Hat OpenShift and some of the certified image stuff that we have going on. So with that, let me start off with the Calyptia quick tour, who we are, what we do. So for us, really, we're a company that was created out of the Fluenty and Fluent Bit open source projects. We saw those projects getting a lot of traction. They're part of the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. And we would continually get questions about, hey, how do we run this at high scale? How do we do X, Y, Z? How do we integrate it with all these data sources or data backends that might be less conventional than what you might find in open source? And we said, oh, we can craft this company and help really support the users that are leveraging this. So Calyptia is really the enterprise company spun out of these two projects. And we really take all of the value and stuff that we get and reinvest it back to make these projects awesome, great to use, and highly useful within your Kubernetes, your security, your networking environments, and whatnot. So with that, let me go ahead and just share our homepage, calyptia.com. And what we really do is first mile observability. And what that means is first mile observability, we think of observability not as just 3 pillars or getting a certain data set. We think of it as this journey that you have to take as you want to go and bring insights from all of this machine data or your container data, whatever it may be. And first mile is really saying in that journey, we can help you own and control the way that you collect that data. So if you need to route that to specific backends, you need to route that, you need to modify it in stream. How can we really help users do that? And Fluenty and Fluent Bit have been doing this for about 10 and 5 years respectively. And if we can build more tooling and things on top, then it's really hoping to build a better community, better folks who can do more of this type of insights at the edge. Now, what we do offer is a Calyptia Cloud, which is a free service. You can sign up via GitHub or Google. It has a lot of dev tools that make it useful when you want to validate, make sure things are running properly, need to do some regular expressions. So just as like a quick example here, we have some examples where you want maybe to add host name from a log that's streaming. So we can visualize that configuration. You can paste your configuration here and we can visualize it. It'll go ahead and check. So if there's particular pieces there that might not be running correctly or not defined correctly. So for example, if we look at, say, I believe this one has some warnings in it, we can say, hey, you need to set a parser here in syslog. That's not going to run correctly. Or in the Splunk output plugin, message key is actually not an option. So this configuration wouldn't run correctly. And this can really be helpful as you think about deploying something at scale or across your Kubernetes environment. instead of having to deploy, check, you can run just quickly on the web, copy, paste, and see if everything goes well. We have regular expression helpers too. So one of the nice, powerful features with the Fluent ecosystem is that as you bring in logs from files, log files, network sources, or even just your Kubernetes clusters, you might want to make that data into something that's more parsable, more actionable, and maybe more useful when it hits the backend, like a Splunk or Elasticsearch or Datadog. And some examples that are very popular, like aspects like Nginx logs, where we could say, hey, let's take this Nginx log, let's throw it in and see, hey, how do we get some fields on top of it? So here you can see what it will look like. So again, you don't have to deploy and check. You can really just run and see what this will look like. And what we could then do is say, I don't actually care about any of these 200 codes. I only care about 404s or 500s. And we can grep based off of these specific message keys, which is super useful. So this is another piece that we have within Calyptia Cloud as well. You can connect up your Fluent and Fluent Bit instances. So you can view things like your config history. So if I go into my monitoring overview, I can see how many events per second I'm sending, and I can look at things like what my average bytes per second are, and then if I scroll down, I have the instances that are reporting, the ones that are not. And if I go check some of these instances, I can see, say, the configuration, what the history might look like on particular days, and then what my plugins or optimizations. Here, I'm not really running anything, but just checking the health of this configuration. So it sends up, hey, I'm running or I'm not. So it's a very simple pipeline here. But yeah, this is a bit about Calyptia Cloud and what we offer, things you can start using immediately, value on top of Fluent Bit, Fluent D. And yeah, let's go back to the agenda. Any comments, Pat, Eduardo, other folks that might want to chime in?
Yeah, just want to add that as Calyptia also we are, besides what we have seen now, ways to configure Fluent Bit, validate configuration, we're creating and shipping soon a bunch of developers tools for the Fluent ecosystem. Some of I'm going to the sneak peek, like we will have GitHub Actions, linters for configurations. So we're trying to make sure that when you deploy your stuff on production, you have all the automation APIs to get started. Actually, one of the common frustration is, okay, I have this configuration, I don't know how it will work, I'm going to deploy the production, things goes wrong, you have to roll back. And it's always a common mess, right? We all have been there, even us. So right now, as a company, we're trying to fix this. We're going to release a bunch of free tools for you guys. So just feel free to sign up to Calyptia, play with the tools, but also we're going to have other kinds of offering, what are kind of more product enterprises for Kubernetes. You will hear more about that in a few weeks. I don't know, Pat, if you want to add something.
And Pat, you used to use Calyptia Cloud at your last role. Maybe you could chat about some of the stuff that you did there.
Yeah, so it's a lot of the stuff I think that's coming through the pipeline is probably, well, I wouldn't say entirely from my complaints, but sort of maybe based in them and directed by them. But yeah, my previous role, I sort of was deploying Fluent Bit for customers really as part of an operator. And there was quite a lot of, I was very much on the dev side, so it was like, it was not the operation. So it was trying to find, yeah, we're trying to improve that kind of experience quite a bit. Yeah, how can we test stuff? How can we lint it, as you touched on, all these kind of things, so you can, shift stuff left before you get to production and do that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's some cool stuff coming. I mean, I'm also this week starting to learn TypeScript as well to do some of that as well. So yeah, it's all a bit exciting and terrifying, but yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, Terraform was a spoiler. Yeah, we're going to come up with some Terraform modules, so a bunch of cool things for.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, TypeScript was what I said, but yeah, Terraform too. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, we like that people get excited about what we are shipping and improving the. There's a lot of lack of tooling in the ecosystem, And I think one of the objectives at Calyptia is like fill all these gaps, right? There are many observability tools, but I think that we're missing is the observability ecosystem for developers, and that's where Calyptia, aim to build all these bridges for you. And so I think that's what we can add for now.
And probably things like automation as well. So that's like a big, for me, like for the last 5-10 years, it's been like driving towards like doing automation, making sure you can prove it, test it, and demonstrate it reliably. Those kind of things as well. So it's getting to that kind of level.
Yeah, got it. Okay, so I don't know if we have questions. This is our first quick tour, right? Our first Fluent Talk. Actually, right now we're just people from Calyptia, but we would like to invite other people from the community also to expose different technical topics associated with observability. This is not just sales pitch, right? So the thinking here is to create community. And most of you come from the Fluent ecosystem, so happy to have you here. If you have any questions, let us know. We're monitoring the Slack and the YouTube channel, but we will take it from there. I don't know if you have any questions, Tim, around?
Nothing yet, but I did put the link for Calyptia Cloud so people can register there, try out the product for themselves, understand the value. And as Eduardo said, we'd love to get your feedback. I think the product's very powerful already. We've got a lot of people using the product in production, but there's a lot to improve. So we definitely want to get your input.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, let's switch into the second one, which I think is really exciting, is Fluent Bit 1.9. What's coming? Eduardo, you wanna talk a little bit about that one?
Yeah, I think we have some this is like a kind of spoilers about 1.9. So to understand Fluent Bit development cycles happen some minor and major versions, right? Right now we are in a stable version called 1.8.12. Maybe in 1 2 weeks we will get 1.8.13, right? But it's mostly bug fixes, little performance improvements. But most of that is coming like new features, new plugins, re-architecture stuff will come in 1.9. And usually this kind of major version happens every 3-4 months. Right now, we don't have a fixed schedule, right? Because, development has its own things also, like delays, unexpected things. But we're trying to, with a team of my interns, trying to come up a cadence of 3-4 months. So 1.9, as I don't want to say a date right now, but we are expecting to have it out at mid of February, but might happen at that date or a few weeks later, but we are doing our best effort. And the thing is that it's taking some time because we have done a lot of refactor, more performance improvements, and also new cool features, right? And maybe we can start showing some of them. We don't have let me share the screen here. We don't have a formal deck about these features because when 1.9 is out, we will do a more formal presentation. So I'm going to my Fluent Bit repository here. And actually, this is running 1.9, right? So 1.9. One of the interesting things is like we come up with a new, one of the major things now is like we're extending our configuration formats. Now, besides support the Fluent Bit, which we call classic configuration mode, we're now optionally start supporting YAML. So we have a kind of parity between one configuration and the other. Now, for example, I'm going to show the unit test cases for this stuff. For example, the new configuration format will look like this. Fluent Bit YAML. There you go. So the new YAML schema that we have aims to mimic what we have in the classic mode. But for example, we respect the kind of local environment variables, which can be from local resolution. This used to be in the classic mode called set. Or maybe we can try to do this. I'm going to split, and so we show some kind of side-by-side config format. So this will be classic fluentbit.conf, And here we will do this internal data config format, YAML, fluentbit.yaml. There we go. So as you can see, in the classic format, we have this what you call meta commands, which is add set in order to set a variable a equals 1, b equals 2. In the YAML format, now we come up with the same thing functionality, but it's called env. So whatever we put here as a key value pair could be expanded later in the configuration. So this is opening up more options to extend your configuration, has more kind of templates. Also, we support in the classic mode what it includes, right? So the ability to include files. Nowadays, nobody has just one big config file, but we used to have that years before. But now most of people just want to have different files for input, different file with all the filters, all the outputs, and just do an include of them, right? So maintenance and from a deployment perspective make things easier. Now in YAML, we also support the same functionality through the includes key. And this is like an array, right? You just put more lines with the new files that you want to extend. Now, in Fluent Bit, we have also different kind of plugins, right? You might hear about input filters, outputs, and so on. Now, we have another category of plugins, which is called custom plugins. Custom plugins are not part of the pipeline. Usually, they do something, like when Fluent Bit is starting, might prepare the environment, might create something, right? The only custom plugin that we have right now is a Calyptia plugin, which allows you to connect your running Fluent Bit to our cloud so you can get all the metrics from the running agent, as Anurag was showing before. And you just put your API key and you will be able to see the throughput, how healthy your agent is, right? You just need your API key and you're ready to go. But that kind of plugin, it's not part of a pipeline, right? It's something that exists there. Now, for plugins that are part of a pipeline, if we compare the difference, for example, here that we have with the classic mode, everything was at the top level, right? Now we have this kind of a pipeline defined under a pipeline section. And this is basically because we found that people used to confuse in production when you're writing configuration. Sometimes you have a couple of inputs that has a specific tag, a specific filters with a specific match, and all of them will match together, right? And maybe you have another kind of input that will go to a different filter, to a different output. And in the classic mode, that becomes like a very big file, right? So here in the YAML file, you will be able to specify different pipeline sections. So visually, that will be more appealing and more easy to process. Now, one of the cool things that I didn't mention about the includes here is that we're including the file called service.yaml. If I cut that file, oh, it's not here, it's here, right? I will see that this file creates a new environment variable that is called observability with the value Calyptia. So it replaces the plugin name here. And also this file is included another one, which is called test nested.yaml, which is a relative position from the last one, which will be test nested.yaml, that this one defines the service section. This is just an example because it's a unit test. We want to make sure that includes are working and everything is set. And also this one, this is where we consume the flash interval that was set in the first file. And then we include another pipeline, which is called dummy pipeline. This one. Let me clean up the screen. Right, this is a dummy plugin with groups and send it out to standard open. Okay, so 1.9 it's coming with this feature already. And one of the other features that we're pretty excited, I don't know if we can make the disclaimer right now, is the big one. It's like now natively for 1.9, we're going to support in full integration with Open Telemetry, right? And you may ask, why? Is it Fluent? Is it Open Telemetry? What's going on? And part of the story is that the Fluent projects has always, as a fundament of the inception, has been like, let's have these kind of agents, right? Or aggregators that are quite vendor agnostic. Vendor agnostic, platform agnostic, and framework agnostic. So whatever the company has in the infrastructure, We can go there and interact with different protocols, different source of data, and different kind of destination payloads. So we become this kind of proxy that can help to alleviate this problem that sometimes you just get stuck to one single stack, right? If you use Splunk, you have just Splunk forwarder, you just can put there Fluent or Fluent Bit and continue having the same experience for your data analytics with Splunk, but have more control over your data. Now we see this trend of open telemetry, and we have a pretty close relationship with the cloud providers. And I think that the vision is great. Open telemetry has a unified experience for traces, metrics, and logs. Now as a graduated project at the CNCF, what will be our position? And we see that open telemetry is pretty mature on traces. Metrics is just kind of new because just got stable. And logs is still a few years behind because of the protocol. There's still, I think that we are not involved in the project development, but we see that there's still some stuff going on there. But as a project and as a company, it's like, okay, hope we can embrace open telemetry and help users to succeed, right? Our experience isn't the agent side. Our experience is processing, sending data reliable at a high performance with a very low cost in terms of CPU and memory, right? So we decided, okay, so many users, we have a huge user base of Fluent Bit, right? Fluent Bit is deployed 2 million times a day. So what is the value that we can bring here to the CNCF ecosystem? It's like, okay, if you are using Fluent Bit already and you want to ship your metrics from Fluent Bit to Open Telemetry, yeah, let's build a plugin for that. Let's embrace, let's help Open Telemetry to succeed in that area from our point of view for our users, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not about to replace technology. It's about how improve and solve problems that you have on a daily basis. And it's not a solution to say one day to the other, it's like, I'm going to replace all my agents, I'm going to replace everything. No, that might take 1-2 years. We have seen that many times with the companies that we work for. So yeah, Open Telemetry is coming. Our plan now, we are shipping this week. That is coming. Maybe we can go do a demo next week for the next Fluent Talk. Would be great. And well, I'm guessing that everything will be ready for the demo, right? But we just did a demo this morning, so that's why I mentioned this. And the goal will be that next week a demo. And now, for example, what we can do with Open Telemetry is like ship native Fluent Bit metrics, because we do logs and metrics. Ship these native metrics to Open Telemetry, and well, you can take it from there to your cloud provider, whatever you want. Our next phase is continue with logs, right? We're taking a look at the protocol, the spec for the login, making sure that it's more mature. And once it gets there with a GA, we're going to jump into support that. So for us, Open Telemetry will be like a new destination for now, and then we're going to implement our Open Telemetry input connectors for people who want to continue using Fluent, but do not stay behind Open Telemetry trend, right? So that's one of the other. We have a new Kafka input plugin that has been requested like 3-4 years ago. I don't know. I think that the issue is number 300 or something.
Yeah, 2018.
Oh, 2018. Yeah, it took us some time, right?
It took us some time, but here it is. You know, it's you can see all the likes on the issue. So
yeah, Kafka input. We have Kafka input. We have Avro support for HTTP. We have a bunch of users who want to have Avro as a payload in HTTP output. What I'm missing, I know that I'm missing a lot of stuff, but
some Nginx metrics. That plugin. There's a output plugin to Apache Skywalking.
Oh yeah, that was contributed also.
That was a great contribution from, I believe, the folks at Tetrate. And let's see, I think there's an OpenSearch plugin coming as well.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. Don't forget, Anurag, the one-line install as well. That's the most important thing.
Yes, the one-line install. Yeah, this is a fun one. Is we always talk about the install process. You got to get the key, you got to add the repo, make sure the key matches the repo. Like, let's just make it a single, bash script that will figure everything out.
You say that like it's straightforward. It was fun testing all the different I think the Debian ones use Dash, and the Red Hat ones use Bash, and they're just like slightly different.
Yeah, and I think in one of the commands I put the $ as the console, and I remember getting complaint and I got rid of it once, and then later on when we upgraded the docs, we pulled it from the old docs, and that dollar managed to find its way back into the commands.
The other thing on that YAML format, I think, is the kind of we're going to support the URL rather than just like local files as well. Is that coming in 1.9 as well? So we can do GitOps kind of stuff. So rather than say load this local YAML file, you can load a YAML file from your repository or whatever.
Yeah, that's a goal, but we are not there yet because we had to customize the HTTP client to handle that, right? Yeah, but that will come during the 1.9 series. Right now, it's just local files.
Yeah. So it's an improvement, but that would be cool as well for like enterprise kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and just managing your stuff. The Kafka stuff as well, pretty straightforward. There's a good for people watching. There's quite a good simple compose stack that runs it all up. I mean, I've never really used Kafka before, and I got it working in the space of a couple of minutes just by running the compose stuff. So it's pretty good way to test it.
Okay. Oh, one thing that I forgot to mention is that we are going to start the deprecation of TD Bit package, right? Now we're in transition to have the former Fluent Bit packages for all major distributions. So that does not mean that 1.9 is out. We're going to deprecate TD Agent that day, and we're just with Fluent Bit. It will be like a process, right? So for some time, we will have TD Agent Bit and we'll have Fluent Bit packages. We're going to encourage all our users to migrate to Fluent Bit packages and start the deprecation of a TD Agent Bit. Actually, I think that Pat, maybe you can show us a bit of the CI work that we have done. Thanks to Pat, we have a great workflows now for testing, unit testing, release management, and all of that is coming out now as part of 1.9.
Yeah, I can. Thanks for no notice at all. So let me just find it. But let me share my screen. It's probably the easiest thing.
Don't release it now. That's a requirement, right? Just a test.
Yeah. So some of the work I've been doing is migrating a lot of the testing and the CI into GitHub Actions and trying to automate it as much as possible. That's probably that's a big change behind the scenes, I think, for 1.9 as well. 1.8 at the moment still has a few kind of like manual workflows and stuff like that, where Eduardo has to do specific stuff, on specific build machines just to get a release out, which is not good for everyone involved because it's a bit more work and stuff like that. So what I've been doing is setting up this kind of staging workflow. So the idea being we take what's on master, we build it regularly, we put it to staging, we can run a load of tests. We need to test different things. We need to test all the different packages we build, so all the different targets. And then we need to test all the different containers we build as well, either in Kubernetes or not in Kubernetes. And ideally with the Helm charts as well, just to make sure everything's working as a user would do. So that's some of the stuff I've been putting together. So this workflow here is all in the Fluent Bit repo now. So it's called deploy to staging, and that's just essentially do the build. So it's broken into build and test. So it takes quite a long time to do each bit, and also the directed graph gets massive if you try and squeeze it all onto one. But they trigger one triggers the next, so it's fully automated pipeline. So here we build all the different images, and you can see there's like 19 targets down here for all the different packages. We've also added stuff like cosine of the container images, some vulnerability scanning, those kind of bits and pieces in there to improve supply chain security. So there's quite a few bits of kind of CI stuff and things behind the scene that you can't really see, and that we're trying to improve stuff with. On the testing side, right at the bottom, there's a big testing. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's quite small, so it might. Let's see. So this is all the different tests we do just for testing a release. So this is not like every single unit test and edge case and integration test, because by the point it gets merged to master, they should have been run. This is about then testing, doing essentially a good sanity check, good confidence check that all of the different targets work. we're not testing all the different edge cases in every single target, because that would just consume, more resources than probably the universe has got. So it's about testing, making sure that the packages we're releasing work and are built correctly and signed and all these kind of things as well. So here's a few of this is what the testing looks like at this point. So we do some cheap checks first, and then we move to more expensive checks where, if you like the container stuff, there were quite a few issues with the different architectures because they're built slightly differently, that dependencies were getting missed and stuff like that. So we have some simple sanity checks that say, does the container run? And that picks up a lot of the, you've missed a dependency out. And then we have move it to does it run, and give us a web server we can talk to for, a minute or so to make sure it stays up. And then once we pass that, we move into let's deploy it with Helm, make sure it runs in a Kubernetes environment. There's no weird permission problems or ports or any stuff like that. And that's kind of how we step through. And also, you probably can't see it, but I've added some sort of developer preview multi-arch containers in. And these are at the moment for 1.8, the production images are slightly different depending on the architecture. So you've got a distro list for the AMD 64, and then the two ARM images are not distro lists, and they've got a shell and a package manager as well. And there's no debug variants of them. So the new multi-arch preview stuff builds everything from a single Docker file. So all 6 container images are done by multi-stage builds in that Docker file. So you've got three architectures of production, 3 architectures of debug, and all the production images are now distroless. So you get the benefits of security and not having a shell and reducing those kind of vulnerabilities as well. So those are all in here as well. Because regardless, we test the current production images with the same pipeline we test these new developer preview ones, and hopefully we can move those over to the proper ones once we're done. So that's some of the CI. Hopefully it makes a bit of sense. There's quite a lot going on now. It's taken me a while to get everything, but there's quite a few things. We've got some security analysis going on of the Trivu stuff, and then recently I've added the open source security foundation scorecard analysis, which is look at your project and see what kind of issues you might have with your infrastructure setup, your dependencies, those kind of things, and give you a rating out of 10 for each thing. I think we came out around about 7, mostly because there were a few, we were quite high on most of them. There were a few zeros on stuff that is quite straightforward to fix, that sort of brought our average down. So hopefully we'll fix that in the next few weeks or so. In fact, there it is, Scorecard supply chain security. Of course, it hasn't got the token in it to actually run it yet. I was just running it manually behind the scenes. So that's some of the CI stuff. Have I missed anything that you guys can think of?
I think that covers packaging, staging, CI, test.
And nightly builds. Nightly builds.
Right? That's coming. Nightly builds.
I was going to say. So the current workflow is when we want to do a release, we push that button and the pipeline goes all the way through to the end. And now what we're going to do is do regular cadence builds. So every night we're doing that pipeline. We're not doing the release. We're saying, is this okay for release? And then at the end of some period, every 2 weeks, whatever, we can just go, what was the last green one of those? Stick it out the door, and it's got all the changes in that were in that change. And you get that kind of build up that momentum and keep things quick and agile. And people can make a change, it appears, and it's in a release. And rather than this big bang approach of having to manage it all, make sure it's all tested. So hopefully that will improve things as well. It's just a case of adding more tests and automating it. And we're trying to do some. So at the moment we've got integration tests, and we've got these kind of smoke tests and build and packaging tests. Now we've got this pipeline, and there's good places now to hang off things like resilience testing or soak testing. Keep it running for 3 days, make sure there's no kind of weird problem with it. After 24 hours something weird goes wrong. And then performance tests as well. We can run that same pipeline on different configurations and see what the behavior is like. So we've got those kind of things to hang off now.
That'll be really nice. Yeah, and there's a couple blogs you've written on it too. So for folks who are watching, definitely you want to
Yeah.
go in depth.
There's some good stuff, some good memes in there. Thanks to Tim.
Yeah.
You have to run a AMA, right? Ask me anything.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, we can be like Pat's like the musician, and we'll just call out songs and see what he can come up with.
Yeah, it's like our build and
see what he can do. Pat, I dropped links. I dropped links to your blogs in the chat, so if anyone wants to access that great material, it's right there.
Yeah, there should be a few more coming. I'm trying to I think it will do a little bit deeper dive in some of the testing stuff, because there's a lot of like weird stuff and like stuff you find that needs improvement or is a bit strange to use. Like reusable workflows are slightly strange at the moment, so there's some little tweaks and things we found while we're doing them.
Okay, I think that the next topic, I think that you have the right address.
Yeah, let me share the agenda again so we can. Yeah. Which is the new Fluent Bit website. So this has been exciting. Let's go to the first. If you go to the original Fluent Bit website, fluentbit.io, it gets the job done, right? It's like
that's my front end skills.
Yeah.
It took me like a month.
Yeah, and so I think that if you look at things that could be improved here, as we analyze, is like maybe a little easier to understand the use cases, just to more easy to understand how you can get to the community, or even like if you want to download, where do we go? And we've made like slight improvements here and there, but let's go to the new version that we've been building. So here it's trying to visualize and showcase in a better way how we're taking all these sources, destinations, make the download much simpler, have the release notes basically available on the front page so you can immediately get to them. And then from here, being also able to, if we go, let's go back to the home page. Understanding who's using it, some more type of feature characteristics. They're showcasing, hey, we're a CNCF project. Give us a star if you can, which is always appreciated. Some nice graphics about like what the configuration looks like. Maybe you have to update it for the YAML stuff with 1.9. And then, just some of the other features and your typical stuff that comes with any product page. How it works, here we spent a little time just to try to illustrate a little more of how does this actually function? So before you download or do anything, you get a little bit of understanding of like, hey, you can scrape metrics, you can automatically tag them, you can call and filter things with APIs, you can resume data where you left off, and you can send data to 5 or 6 more locations, all with a little bit of history there as well. We have our community side, so all of that's available. Kind of Slack is the forefront there. Our blog, this is a much needed update. And so if you have a blog post that you want to post on Fluent, we now have a better way, I'd say better infrastructure to kind of support that. And this will help you. So if you want to, read a blog, it's in a little bit more of a digestible format. So yeah, that's a little bit of the new web page. Should go live here shortly. And after that, we'll keep improving it. So it's a never-ending process, of course, with website improvements.
Great. Have to see like a new refresh of the website after the project was created. So that's looking great. Actually, it took more time than expected. Right?
Yeah. It's always hard to kind of rebuild the website because you're not sure what you want to add in, what you might want to keep out, and are you getting the message of, hey, is this is what the open source represents, and is that going to be the most useful for the community? So I think we finally got to a good place there, and it's all open source, by the way. So the great thing about like all CNCF projects is the websites are typically open source. So if you see something in there and you're like, how do they do that? It's a Hugo template. All the source code is going to be available, so you can modify it, and then we just quickly deploy it there too. Okay,
great. So Fluent partnership with OpenSearch. This is a big one.
Yeah.
I don't know if Tim want to take over that one.
Yeah, Tim, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh, that's great. I get called out just because I called Pat out now.
Yeah.
So now the news came out last week, and we're really excited about this partnership. OpenSearch has a lot of traction. It's a lot of functionality. It's a very powerful tool working with AWS. They've partnered with us to create connectors for Fluent Bit and Fluent D. And so anyone who uses OpenSearch or uses Fluent Bit and Fluent D will now have a first-class connector to ingest data, which just makes that complete flow from data source to dashboard almost seamless at this point. So there'll be a lot of news on when these products are available. The Fluent D actually connector is available now. Fluent Bit will come out with the release of Fluent Bit 1.9 within a week or two. And everyone's going to be able to ingest data with Fluent Bit right into OpenSearch. So we'll have more details. Get started guide produced with the OpenSearch team. There's news too. We'll be with the OpenSearch team at FluentCon, and we'll have more details about this coming up in May. So we're going to do a lot of enablement around this partnership, but we're really excited about the technology, excited about the partnership, and excited to get your feedback.
Yeah, I think that's the super important piece is like these things will continually evolve, and it's not like one organization or one project will define what the other does. It's like we really need users to kind of come in and say like, hey, this is what I want to see. This is how I anticipate it looking. And this is the use case. So I would recommend if you're using one of the two technologies, you want to see something specific. Like, yeah, these are very heavily community-driven projects, and we want to make sure that we take advantage of
I think
the other community.
Pat got excited by the news and he dropped off and
yeah,
figuring the connector right now.
Yeah. One thing that today we were getting some questions from the community about this new connector for OpenSearch, right? And actually the question was, hey, I'm using the Fluent. Oh, he's back. We were talking about the connector. Well, I'm using for example, the Fluent Bit or Fluent D Elasticsearch connector, and it works with OpenSearch. Why do I need a new one? The thing is that Elasticsearch as a project will have its own development path, right? It will add more features, it might add breaking changes or anything like that. So our native connector for Elasticsearch will be adapted for Elasticsearch, but at some point we need to provide the users who use OpenSearch something that is tested, reliable, that runs behind the CI, ready for production, right? So at some point you might expect that, this is my speculation, right? That Elasticsearch would take one path and OpenSearch would take another direction in feature set, maybe, I don't know, protocol change or anything like that. So from that perspective, it makes sense to have some native connector instead of something that also works with, right? That is the biggest difference. Sometimes we got some users that say, hey, I can connect with Splunk by using the HTTP plugin, right? By using a Lua filter, pass another filter, merging the fields, and yeah, that's fine, but it's not the same experience than having just something reading for, right? So yeah, so we're pretty happy to work with the OpenSearch team, some folks from AWS, and also the community. But also we have more news. So if we can go back to the agenda, since we have the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that this is a server path.
Yeah, so Red Hat OpenShift certified image. Pat, you want to take it away for the last 10 or so?
Yeah, can do. So, so for the last long time, most of my professional career, I've been working on Red Hat platforms. The last sort of 3-4 years have been OpenShift and that kind of domain. And Red Hat's approach to like containers and supply chain security is to very strongly encourage you to be using special Red Hat certified containers, not stuff straight out of Docker Hub or whatever, but through an approved Red Hat registry. So when I joined Calyptia, one of the first things I did was initiate that process of getting a Red Hat container approved. It's not too difficult. I'd already done it previously at a previous role, but this was about getting an official open source version just through and available in Red Hat Container Catalog. So we've got that now. I'll just show you a few of the bits and pieces, but ultimately, it is, where is it gone? Yeah. It is, it's just the open source, upstream open source Fluent Bit. We've just forked it into a Calyptia repo because for the certification process, it has to go through as as us as a technical partner. So we initiate the certification. It's a Calyptia image, but it's just the upstream open source code. So I forked the repo. There's a very simple UBI base image. So UBI is Universal Base Image. So it's Red Hat's take on a container-based image. So it's using essentially a Red Hat base image, but UBI you can redistribute and you can reuse in open source as well. And in fact, now you can start pushing it to Docker Hub as well, which we might start doing soon. So this is if you've looked at any of the Docker files for Fluent Bit, it will look very similar. We've just got the Red Hat base image, and then we go and grab the tarball for the particular version we want and build it all exactly the same way, and use it exactly the same way. There's no real difference here. There's a few little special bits and pieces you have to do for certification, like adding licensing, making sure you're not running as a root user, those kind of things. But that's all pretty straightforward. And then we initiate the certification process, which is a few things. It builds the image for us, scans it through some automation tooling, some CI stuff like that. And there's also like a load of licensing paperwork you have to fill out and stuff like that. So just to make sure that, everything's by the book and the kind of users who want that kind of safety net and security that they get from Red Hat to say, this image is okay to use. And actually, we've got this image now in the Red Hat Container Catalog, so anyone can pull it. The only thing I need to do is update it to the latest version. I just realized as soon as I decided to demo this today. But yeah, that's
you got a health index of 8, so that's a plus.
Right? Yeah, because there's not a huge amount in it, so yeah, it's pretty straightforward. So it's so we've got our product there. You can actually find it by searching for Fluent Bit. There's also my other Fluent Bit image that I made for Red Hat there as well. And I knocked up a blog post as well on using it. And this was primarily, I had to make this image, it got published, and then I wanted just to make sure it was, working properly, because we don't want to tell people to use it and then there's something wrong with it. But I just captured a few bits of the output while I was doing that. It's a very simple test, and I cut a few corners on it, not with what I was testing, but how I was doing it. Red Hat provide a monitoring stack already that's got Fluent D in there. There's a lot of security aspects you have to consider with some of the Red Hat deployments as well, and getting access to the logs and things like that. So what I actually do in my testing is I use the normal Fluent D log collection and forwarding, but I forward it to our Fluent Bit image, and then I use that to forward it elsewhere. So I can prove that Fluent Bit can receive stuff and it can send stuff. And that was the main test case for it. So there's a bit of a blog post that goes through it all and how we did it in some of the tooling we used as well. But that's, the gist of it. Ultimately, it's a Red Hat certified image. There's a few other benefits from that. Recently, there was a request for Fips Compliance and those kind of bits and pieces as well. And there's some issues with that with the current Ubuntu images, because the OpenSSL version I don't think is Fips certified to the latest version, whereas the UBI images they've got backported Fips compliance for OpenSSL. So it might be we can do something in that domain if we need to. If someone really wants like a Fips compliant container image, we can build it based on the UBI one, and we can push that to Docker Hub as well, because there's no problem with distributing it that way. it just hasn't been done at the moment. It's just in the Red Hat one. And of course, it's all like open source as well, Apache 2 license, so anyone can pull it as well. So yeah, that was just a quick overview of the Red Hat side of things. So yeah.
Great. And this is part also of how do we, Calyptia, we continue embracing these partnerships with the ecosystem, right? It's not just about the sell product. We also invest a lot of in open source. As we said at the beginning, we care about a lot of open source, which is our DNA, developer toolings, but also enterprise products to pay the bills, right? And having this integration was this full certification for OpenShift opens a new possibilities where our users could not sometimes deploy this technology because this lack of a certified container image, right? So now we have, working as a company, we got at that point, and we're going to continue integrating with other ecosystems, even from open source, but also Kubernetes distributions or whatever is needed to run this technology in production. I think that we have just 4 minutes left. Let's mention that this Fluent Talks will happen every Friday at the same time, right? We will have different people talking about not just about what we are doing, but also sharing knowledge about different areas. We have experts, for example, in CI/CD, Go, and TypeScript. We're going to try to make room for them they can share general knowledge. So you can also learn from these sessions on Friday and have a free talk. And we would like to be a lot of with interaction, right, through the chat. So looking forward to meet our community. And I don't know if you want to add anything else.
Oh, come join us, ask us questions, tell us things. Tell us something's awesome. Tell us something sucks. It doesn't matter. We're open to feedback. So,
we're hiring.
Yeah.
If you are front-end developer, JavaScript, TypeScript, React, Golang, or you like to do C, Linux system services development, or you like to play with scalability, just let us know. And you will be ready to hear from you. Actually, Calyptia is a fully distributed company. So actually, we are a small company of 15 people that are located in 10 countries, including North America, Central America, South America, Europe, Asia, everywhere, right? Pat joined us from UK. And
I think we have about 4 time zones here, actually, at the moment. I'm not sure.
I'm in Costa Rica. This is 3 p.m. almost. And so if you think that you are a very practical person, that you like to work in open source, just ping us. Send us, not your resume, your GitHub profile, and we take it from there.
Cool.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.